Ethan was exhausted, not the normal kind of tired that comes after a long day, but the deep, crushing tiredness that makes every step feel heavy and every thought slow. His body was begging for rest. For 3 days he had survived on coffee, instant noodles, and short naps during boring lectures. Exams had chewed him up and left nothing behind except a hollow shell of a college student. That night, all Ethan wanted was to sleep. Nothing more. He didn't care about tomorrow's assignments or the noise in the hallway or the pile of laundry that smelled faintly like regret. He only wanted a bed, a blanket, and silence. Dragging his feet down the corridor of his dorm, Ethan rubbed his eyes with the back of his hand. His vision was blurry and the flickering light bulbs above didn't help. His key slipped in his sweaty fingers twice before finally fitting into the lock. He turned it slowly, muttering to himself, "Just sleep. Just a few hours. That's all." The door creaked open. His room was dark. He didn't even think to turn on the light.
Why bother?
He knew the shape of his little dorm by heart. The desk pressed against the wall, the half-broken chair, the poster of Earth's moon he had taped above the bed months ago. Everything was where it always was. He kicked off his shoes and tossed his bag carelessly into a corner. The sound of a half-empty water bottle rolling across the floor barely reached his ears. He was already unbuttoning his shirt, already half falling toward the soft promise of his mattress. But when he collapsed onto the bed, something felt different. It was warmer than he remembered. Not just the warmth of sheets, but a living warmth like sitting close to a fire. The mattress seemed softer too, as if it welcomed him. And then there was the scent. At first, Ethan thought it was the faint smell of flowers drifting in from outside, but the windows were closed. This was stronger, closer, like lavender mixed with honey and rain. Still, his brain was too foggy to care. He pressed his face against the pillow and let out a long sigh. Sleep. Finally, sleep. His mind began to drift into that sweet, weightless space between waking and dreaming. Then, he heard it. A breath. Not his own. Ethan froze. His heart stumbled in his chest. Slowly, his tired eyes cracked open. He turned his head just a little, just enough to see. Someone was lying beside him, not his roommate. Not anyone he had ever seen before. It was a girl. Her skin shimmered faintly, catching what little light seeped through the blinds. It wasn't normal skin, not pale or tan or dark, but silver, smooth like liquid metal. Her hair spilled across the pillow in long strands that glowed faintly, like threads of starlight. And her eyes. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. Her eyes were open, staring at him. They were the deepest violet he had ever seen. Not just a color, but a glow, like galaxies swirling inside. For a long, terrifying moment, neither of them moved. Ethan felt his pulse hammering in his ears. His thoughts screamed at him, "Run, scream, do something." But his body wouldn't listen. He lay frozen, caught in the impossible beauty and strangeness of the figure beside him. Then, she spoke. Her voice was soft, barely above a whisper, but it carried a weight that made Ethan's chest ache. "You came," she breathed. "My chosen one." Ethan bolted upright so fast that he hit his head against the wall. Pain shot through his skull, but fear drowned it out. What the hell?" His voice cracked high and sharp. "Who are you?" "What are you doing in my bed?" The girl didn't move. She only tilted her head slightly, as though she was curious about why he was panicking. Her glowing hair brushed against her cheek as she shifted. "I am Lyra," she said gently, the syllables strange yet soothing in his ears. "You have accepted the bond." "The what?" Ethan's throat felt dry. His mind was still trying to catch up. This wasn't possible. None of this was possible. He had gone to his room, he had collapsed into bed, and now there was some alien girl lying next to him. Lyra's silver hand rose slowly, not to touch him, but to press against her own chest. Her violet eyes never left his. "On my world, we bind for life. By resting beside me, you have chosen. You are mine, and I am yours." Ethan's jaw dropped. Words refused to form. He could barely think straight. Chosen? Bound life? None of it made sense. He scrambled off the bed, nearly tripping over his own blanket. His back pressed against the desk, his breathing shallow and quick. His tiredness was gone now, replaced by a raw electric fear. No. This is insane. I don't know who you are, I don't know how you got in here, but I didn't choose anything. I just wanted to sleep. For the first time, her calm expression shifted. A shadow of sadness crossed her glowing features, and her voice trembled as if it carried something fragile. "On my world, No mistake exists. The bond cannot lie. Destiny brought me here. You are the one I was meant to find. Ethan shook his head violently, his heart racing. He wanted to deny it, to scream, to run, but something in her voice made him pause. She didn't sound like someone playing a trick. She didn't sound dangerous. She sounded desperate. Her eyes softened and she whispered again, "I felt your soul touch mine." The words made Ethan's chest tighten in a way he couldn't explain. He didn't believe her. He couldn't, and yet, some small part of him buried under all the fear wanted to believe. Still, his voice came out firm, though shaky. "This is crazy. I'm human. I didn't ask for this. I didn't agree to anything." But Lyra only gazed at him with that same unwavering devotion, like he was the only thing in the universe that mattered. And in that quiet, dim room, Ethan realized one terrifying truth. His life had just changed forever. Ethan's legs shook as he stood near the desk, staring at the strange girl who called herself Lyra. His heart pounded in his chest so hard that he thought it might break free. She sat on his bed with such calmness, as if she belonged there, as if nothing was wrong. He pressed his palms against the desk, trying to ground himself. His mouth felt dry, his thoughts tangled. "What are you talking about?" he demanded, though his voice trembled. "What bond? I don't know you. I don't know what's happening." Lyra blinked slowly, her glowing violet eyes soft, almost sad. "It is simple," she said, as if explaining to a child. "When two souls meet in rest, they can touch. When they touch, they join. You laid beside me and our spirits intertwined. That is the bond. Now, I am yours and you are mine." Ethan's head spun. He laughed nervously, shaking his head as if that could erase her words. No, no, no. That's crazy. Souls don't just touch. That's not how anything works. You're not even human. He stopped, staring at her silver skin that glowed faintly in the shadows. "What even are you?" "I am Ziari," Lyra answered gently. "My people travel the stars. We are few, but we are strong. For us, the bond is sacred. It is forever. Without it, we are incomplete." Ethan's stomach twisted. Forever. That word sank into him like a stone into water. Forever was terrifying. Forever meant no choice. He hugged his arms to his chest as if to protect himself. "I didn't choose this," he shouted. "I was tired, okay? I just wanted to sleep. I didn't agree to anything." Her face softened even more. She lowered her gaze, her glowing hair falling forward like a curtain. Her voice grew quieter, almost trembling. "On my world, there are no mistakes. The bond does not happen unless it is meant to. You may think it was accident, but destiny does not play games. You were calling and I heard you." Ethan froze at her words. "Calling? I never called anyone." Lyra lifted her head, and her violet eyes shimmered with something like tears, though they glowed faintly like tiny stars. "You did," she whispered. "Not with your mouth, but with your heart. I felt it. Across the silence of space, I felt the loneliness in you. It reached me. It pulled me here." Her words pierced Ethan like an arrow. He wanted to deny it. He wanted to laugh and say she was wrong. But deep inside, where he hid things even from himself, there was truth. He was lonely. He had been lonely for years. Even when surrounded by people. He studied, he joked with classmates, he lived. But no one really saw him. No one really needed him. And now here was this strange, silver-skinned girl saying she had crossed the stars because she heard his loneliness. Ethan rubbed his face with both hands, groaning. "This is insane. Completely insane." Lyra shifted on the bed, moving slowly, carefully, as if she didn't want to scare him. Her silver fingers reached out slightly, though she didn't touch him. "You are frightened," she said softly. "I understand. But you don't need to fear me. I will never hurt you. I was made to protect you. That is what a mate does." The word mate made Ethan's ears burn. "Stop saying that," he snapped. "I'm not your mate. I don't even know you. We just met. You can't just decide something like that." Lyra tilted her head. For the first time, she looked confused, almost childlike. "But it is not my decision," she said. "It is the bond. I only accept what already is." Her certainty made Ethan's anger falter. She didn't sound like she was lying. She didn't sound like she was forcing him. She sounded like someone who had given her entire self over to something larger than both of them. Silence filled the room. Ethan leaned back against the desk, his knees weak. Lyra sat on the bed, watching him with eyes so full of quiet devotion that he didn't know where to look. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. If what you're saying is true, what happens if I say no? What if I don't want this bond? Lyra's lips parted slightly. For a moment, she didn't answer. Then her voice came low and fragile. If you reject me, I will die. The words struck Ethan like a thunderclap. His breath caught in his throat. He stared at her, searching her face for a hint of exaggeration or trick. But there was none. Her expression was steady, though sorrow filled her eyes. You can't be serious, he whispered. Die, just like that? Yes, Lyra said softly. When the bond is broken, the soul shatters. It cannot live without its other half. You are mine now. Without you, I am nothing. Ethan's heart twisted painfully. He wanted to scream that it wasn't fair, that he hadn't asked for this, hadn't chosen it. But how could he tell someone to die? How could he throw her away when she looked at him like he was her entire universe? His voice cracked as he spoke. This isn't fair. You don't even know me. I don't know you. How can you tie your life to mine? Lyra's eyes softened even more. She whispered, because I know enough. I know your soul, and that is everything. Ethan turned away, his chest tight. He didn't know what to say, didn't know how to feel. Part of him wanted to run far, far away, but another part, small, hidden but stubborn, felt something else, something that scared him even more than the bond. Hope. The next morning, Ethan woke to silence. For a brief moment he felt relief, thinking that maybe he had imagined everything the night before. Maybe Lyra, whoever she was, had vanished while he slept. But then, as his eyes adjusted to the soft light filtering through the blinds, he saw her. She was sitting cross-legged on the floor, near the window, staring out at the faint orange glow of sunrise. Her silver skin glimmered faintly in the morning light, and her violet eyes seemed to catch every tiny detail of the world outside. She hadn't moved, hadn't eaten, hadn't spoken. She had simply waited. Ethan rubbed his face with both hands, trying to wake up fully to convince himself that this wasn't real. Okay, he whispered to himself. Okay, think. This is just a dream. I'll wake up any second. But the feeling of warmth nearby, that same soft scent he had noticed the night before, told him this was not a dream. Lyra's presence was real. Her gaze slowly turned toward him, and for a moment, he felt it pierce through his chest. You woke, she said softly, her voice carrying a calm strength that made his knees feel weak. Ethan swallowed hard, his throat dry. Yeah, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. I woke. Lyra tilted her head slightly, her glowing hair cascading down her shoulders. Did you dream of me? She asked quietly. Ethan frowned, confusion mixing with unease. Dream of you? I don't know. Maybe. I didn't even know what to dream about last night. He shook his head. Look, I don't know what's happening. I don't know why you're here. I don't even know what the hell you are, but I'm human, okay? I don't understand your bond or whatever, and I just want to be normal. Lyra rose to her knees slowly, her movements fluid and precise. She approached him but kept her distance. Normal? She repeated as if tasting the word. You think what you have is normal? To feel alone, to search for something you cannot name? That is not normal. That is life, and I was sent to make it whole. Ethan's stomach twisted. Her words were strange, but somehow they struck a chord inside him. You sent? By who? How? I don't even know your world. Her violet eyes softened with a kind of sadness that made Ethan's chest ache. My people travel far across the stars. They watch for the one whose soul calls out. I answered that call. I crossed distances you cannot imagine. And now I am here. With you. Ethan's heart beat faster. He felt both panic and awe, fear and curiosity all at once. His rational mind screamed that this was impossible, that he had to escape. But every instinct in his body told him he couldn't walk away. Not now, not ever. He looked at her, searching for something he could hold on to, some explanation that would make this all make sense. Why me? He asked, his voice almost breaking. Why would you cross the stars for me? I'm just me. I'm nobody special. I'm just tired. I'm just ordinary. Lyra's face lit up with a faint, almost shy smile. Because ordinary is not nothing. It is everything. You are the one whose heart reaches across the dark. I felt it. Even before I arrived, I felt you calling. Ethan's knees buckled slightly. He wanted to run, but he found he could not. He wanted to shout, to push her away, but his hands stayed at his sides. He felt trapped, not in a cage, but in something far stronger. a force he could not resist. "I don't know if I can do this," he admitted quietly. His voice shook. "I don't know if I can accept whatever this is. I'm not ready for forever. I can barely handle today." Lyra's eyes glimmered with a faint light, almost like she was holding back tears. "Forever is not something you choose," she said gently. "It is something that chooses you, and I cannot live without you." Ethan's heart twisted painfully. The words pierced him deeper than anything he had ever heard. For the first time in years, he felt a raw, unfiltered emotion. Guilt, fear, longing, all mixed together. He realized he was holding on to something he didn't even understand. Something he wanted but was too afraid to admit. I don't know," he whispered, burying his face in his hands. "I'm scared. I'm terrified. I don't know if I'm ready to be what you want me to be." Lyra knelt beside him slowly, her hand hovering near his shoulder. She did not touch him yet, as if giving him the choice. "I am not asking for your fear," she said softly. "I only ask for your truth. If you feel it, if you feel even a part of what I feel, then the choice is yours, to accept me or to turn away. But know this, the bond does not lie. Your soul knows what it wants, even if your mind does not." Ethan's breathing became erratic. He had never been faced with something like this. He had never been seen so completely. Never had someone tell him so plainly that he was needed, that he was wanted in a way that went beyond words. His chest ached with a strange mix of fear and desire. For hours they sat there in silence. Ethan wrestled with the impossible. Every thought in his mind told him to run, to hide, to pretend this had never happened. But his heart told him something else entirely. And slowly, as the sun climbed higher, Ethan realized he could not ignore it. The loneliness he had carried for years, the emptiness, the quiet ache that no one had ever noticed, was gone. In its place was a warmth, a pull, a strange, undeniable connection that tied him to her in a way that words could not explain. Finally, with a trembling voice, he whispered, I don't know what this means. I don't know if I'm ready, but I don't want you to disappear." Lyra's eyes lit up with a gentle glow, her fingers brushing softly against his hand, just a touch, light as air. "Then that is enough," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "That is all the bond needs, truth, honesty, presence. We will find the rest together." Ethan's mind was still spinning. His world had shifted, turned upside down in ways he could not have imagined. But for the first time he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, hope. And somewhere deep in the corner of his chest, he understood something powerful and terrifying. He had a choice. He could run and try to reclaim his ordinary life, or he could accept that this impossible, beautiful, terrifying presence was now a part of him. And for the first time he realized that maybe he wanted to accept it. Days passed. Each morning Ethan woke to the same strange, beautiful presence beside him. Lyra never left. She didn't eat human food, didn't follow human routines, didn't speak unless she had something meaningful to say. Sometimes she simply sat, cross-legged on the floor or by the window, her glowing fingers moving through the air as if tracing invisible patterns. At first, Ethan tried to ignore her. He tried to pretend it was just a dream, a hallucination caused by exhaustion and stress. But every time he opened his eyes, she was still there, watching him with those violet eyes full of light, full of devotion, full of something he couldn't name. He had tried to keep his life the same. He went to class, did his homework, interacted with his friends. But nothing felt the same anymore. The weight of knowing someone was tied to him in a way that went beyond understanding made everything heavier. He couldn't focus. He couldn't laugh as easily. Every moment he spent away from her felt incomplete, as though a part of him was missing. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day, Ethan came home and found Lyra sitting on his bed, her hands folded neatly in her lap. She looked at him with a quiet serenity, but something in her posture made his chest ache. "I'm sorry," Ethan said without thinking. I can't do this. I don't know how to live like this. I can't be responsible for whatever this bond is. I'm just me. I'm not special. I'm not perfect." Lyra tilted her head slightly. Her hair shimmered faintly, catching the last light of sunset. "You do not need to be perfect," she said softly. "You only need to be present. That is all the bond requires. Nothing more. Nothing less." Ethan laughed bitterly, shaking his head. "Present? You have no idea what it's like. You don't know how tired I am. You don't know what it's like to try and live like a normal human, to study, to survive, to deal with people. And then suddenly, bam. I'm tied to you. Someone from another world. Someone I can't even understand. Lyra's glowing eyes softened, and for the first time she seemed hesitant. She shifted closer, though still careful not to touch him. I know it is difficult. It is heavy. I did not choose the difficulty. But I did choose to come to you because the bond, it called me. It cannot lie. It is truth, and you are my truth. Ethan's chest tightened. His hands trembled as he ran them through his hair. Truth? How can this be truth? I don't even know you. I barely know anything about your people or your world or anything, and now you're saying I'm yours? Forever? Yes, Lyra said quietly. Forever. The bond is not temporary. It does not fade. It is eternal, and though it may frighten you, it does not harm you. It only binds us in soul and in heart. You are mine and I am yours. Always. Ethan sank onto his bed, burying his face in his hands. He felt small, helpless, overwhelmed. He had never faced responsibility like this, never felt the weight of being needed so completely by another living being. The thought terrified him, and yet beneath the fear something stirred, something he hadn't expected. A strange longing. He lifted his head slowly and looked at her. Lyra's eyes glimmered softly, her violet gaze unwavering. She seemed fragile yet unbreakable at the same time. She was beautiful in a way that hurt his chest, that made him ache to protect her, even though he had no idea how. I don't know if I can do this, he admitted, his voice shaking. I don't know if I'm strong enough. Lyra moved closer until she was kneeling beside him. She reached out a single hand, brushing it lightly against his forearm. Not enough to startle him, but enough to feel. You are stronger than you believe, she whispered. Strength is not measured by what you can endure alone, but by what you endure for someone else. You endure because the bond calls you. You endure because you are mine and I am yours. That is all the strength you need. Ethan's chest ached. He didn't know how to respond. He wanted to argue, to push her away, to reclaim the normal life he had always known, and yet every fiber of his being told him he could not. He could not run from someone who had crossed the stars because of him. He could not walk away from someone who looked at him like he was the center of the universe. He leaned back against the headboard, his eyes fixed on her glowing form. I don't know if I'm ready, he whispered. I'm scared. I'm terrified of hurting you. I don't know if I can live up to this, to being your mate. I can barely survive myself. Lyra's hand moved, just barely touching his. Her touch was soft, comforting, grounding. You will not hurt me, she said, her voice steady. The bond protects us. It teaches us. And though the path is heavy, it is not cruel. You will learn. We will learn together. And if you stumble, I will be there. Always. Ethan's throat tightened. He wanted to believe her. He wanted to surrender to this strange, terrifying, wonderful thing that had entered his life. But the weight of forever pressed down on him. He had never been ready for such responsibility. He had never been ready to care for someone else so completely. And yet, he felt a spark deep inside him. A small flicker of warmth that grew with every passing moment. The thought that someone like Lyra, needed him, that she had come across the stars for him, made his chest ache with longing. It terrified him, but it also called to something he had buried long ago. The desire to matter. For the first time in days, Ethan allowed himself to lean into the weight of it. Not to run, not to fight, just to sit there beside her, letting the truth settle in. Lyra's eyes glimmered faintly, reflecting the last rays of sunlight. She smiled softly, the glow in her violet eyes warm and comforting. Do not be afraid of the weight, she said. It is not yours alone to carry. We carry it together. That is what it means to be bound. That is what it means to be mates. Forever. Ethan looked at her, at the fragile beauty of someone who had come so far for him. His fear had not disappeared. He was still terrified, but beneath it he felt a strange courage, a glimmer of hope and something else he did not yet name. The weight of forever was heavy, but perhaps he thought he could carry it. Perhaps with her beside him he could face it, and for the first time he wondered if maybe he wanted to. Days blurred into nights, and Ethan's world began to feel smaller, tighter, heavier. Lyra was always there, always watching, always waiting, always glowing faintly in the corner of his life. He could not escape her presence, could not ignore the pull she had on him. The bond tied them together in ways he still didn't understand, and no matter how hard he tried, he could not reclaim the solitude he had once known. He tried to hold on to normality, but normality was gone. Classes felt unbearable, and conversations with friends felt shallow and meaningless. Every laugh he forced, every casual remark he made, carried a weight now, because part of him was always aware of Lyra, always aware that she needed him in ways he could barely grasp. One evening, after a long day of lectures and late-night studying, Ethan returned to his dorm and found Lyra waiting by the window as she always did. The glow of her silver skin illuminated the dim room, casting soft shadows that made him both anxious and awed. She looked at him, her violet eyes steady and full of expectation. Ethan's chest tightened. He wanted to scream. He wanted to run. He wanted to escape the truth that he was no longer alone in this life, that he was forever tethered to someone whose existence seemed impossible. "I can't do this," he shouted, his voice echoing through the small dorm room. Lyra flinched slightly but did not move. I can't live like this. You don't understand what it's like to be tied to someone you barely know. I didn't ask for this. I never wanted this." Lyra's eyes softened, but there was a faint tremor in her glow, like a candle flickering in the wind. "I do not wish to frighten you," she said gently. "I only wish to be present. That is all the bond requires." Ethan shook his head violently, stepping back as though distance could make this nightmare disappear. "You don't understand. Every day I feel it. I feel you. I can't eat, I can't sleep, I can't focus. My friends, my life. It's falling apart because of this. And you just sit there glowing like you think this is all normal. It's not normal. It's insane." Lyra's lips quivered. For a brief moment she seemed fragile, vulnerable in a way that made Ethan's chest ache with guilt. I only wanted to be with you," she whispered, her voice breaking slightly. "I only wanted to share the bond. I never wanted to harm you. I only wished to love you." Her words pierced him, but they did not soothe him. All he could feel was frustration, fear, and exhaustion. The burden of responsibility, the weight of forever, pressed on him like an invisible hand. He could barely breathe under it. "I don't want to be your mate," he shouted, his voice raw. "I don't want this. I don't want you. I can't handle it." Lyra's eyes shimmered with something he had never seen before. Heartbreak. The soft glow around her dimmed and her head lowered. She did not argue, she did not plead. She only whispered, barely audible, "As you wish." Ethan froze. The words hung in the air like a heavy stone. She wasn't angry. She wasn't threatening him. She wasn't trying to manipulate him. She was stepping back, stepping away. And suddenly the reality of his own actions struck him like a lightning bolt. She had come across the stars for him. She had tied herself to him with a bond that could not be undone. And in his fear, in his exhaustion, in his selfishness, he had rejected her. He watched her slowly retreat, glowing less with each step, her form flickering like starlight fading from the sky. "Lyra, wait!" he called, his voice shaking. I didn't mean it like that. Please don't go." But she did not stop. She turned briefly, her violet eyes glimmering with quiet sorrow. "The bond cannot be forced. You must choose, Ethan. If you cannot accept me, I cannot remain." Her words hit him harder than he could bear. He stumbled backward, collapsing onto his bed. His hands covered his face, but it did not block out the emptiness, the silence, the realization that he had driven away someone who had given him everything without hesitation. Hours passed. The dorm room was dark, and Ethan lay on his bed staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep, unable to think clearly. Every nerve in his body ached. The emptiness beside him was unbearable. For the first time, he realized just how deeply he had grown to depend on her presence, not just for comfort, but for something more, something vital, something he couldn't name. Tears threatened to spill as he whispered into the darkness, I miss you. I can't lose you." He remembered her words, fragile and soft. "If you reject me, I will die." The thought alone was enough to make his chest constrict. He had almost caused her death by rejecting her in anger, by letting his fear and frustration guide his words. Panic clawed at his mind. He couldn't let her die. He couldn't survive knowing that he had driven away someone who had crossed the stars for him, who had trusted him completely without question. He leapt from the bed, heart racing. "I need to find her," he whispered. I have to fix this. I can't let her." "No, I won't let her." Ethan searched everywhere he could think of, around the dorm, the campus, the nearby streets. The world seemed impossibly quiet, impossibly empty without her presence. Every corner he turned, every shadow he passed made his chest tighten further. The guilt and longing wrapped around him like a vice. Finally, as night fell and the city lights began to glow faintly, he saw her, by the edge of the campus park, kneeling by the small lake that reflected the stars above. Her glow was dim, almost imperceptible, her body trembling slightly as if she were holding herself together with sheer will. "Lyra," he shouted, running toward her. His voice echoed in the quiet night. "Lyra, please wait. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I didn't want to hurt you." She looked up slowly. Her eyes met his, and in that instant everything shifted. There was hurt, yes, but also hope. She had come so far for him, had stayed tethered to him through the impossibility of their lives, and still, she waited. "I thought you were free," she whispered, her voice fragile. "I thought I should vanish before the bond consumed me completely." Ethan fell to his knees beside her, his hands trembling as he grasped her glowing hands. "No, you're not disappearing. I was scared. I didn't know how to handle it, how to be what you needed, but I don't want to lose you. I can't live without you. I was wrong." Lyra's eyes shimmered with tears of light, and for the first time, Ethan realized just how deep his feelings had grown. His heart ached with love, with fear, with relief, with the desperate longing to make things right. "I'm here," she said softly, her voice steadying as her glow brightened slightly. "You have found your truth. Now you must accept it, accept me, accept us." Ethan nodded slowly, tears streaming down his face. I do. I accept you. I accept us, please. Don't ever leave me again." Her smile was radiant, blinding in its beauty, and she leaned forward, resting her forehead against his. "Never," she whispered. "Together, always." For the first time, Ethan understood what the bond truly meant. Not just the weight of forever, but the power of trust, of devotion, of love. And in that quiet night by the lake, beneath the stars that had brought them together, he realized he could never live without her again. The nights that followed were quiet, almost peaceful, though not without tension. Ethan and Lyra returned to his dorm, their footsteps light as if afraid to disturb the fragile balance that had been restored. Ethan's mind was still spinning. He had accepted the bond, yes, but understanding it, truly embracing it, was a different challenge altogether. Lyra moved with quiet grace, her silver skin glowing faintly in the dim light. She didn't demand attention or affection. Instead, she waited, patient and calm, letting Ethan adjust at his own pace. And Ethan, in turn, watched her, studied her, tried to understand the being who had crossed the stars for him, the girl who had tethered herself to his very soul. He felt a strange mixture of awe and fear. She was beautiful in ways that hurt his chest, her violet eyes, her flowing hair, her soft, glowing skin. But she was also fragile, vulnerable in ways no human had ever allowed him to see. She had given herself to him completely, and Ethan realized how easily he could hurt her, how delicate the balance between them really was. For the first time, he felt the weight of responsibility, not as a burden but as something sacred. Every word, every movement, every choice he made mattered, not just for himself but for her. And he understood that he couldn't run from this truth. He couldn't ignore the bond, because it was no longer something that existed outside of him. It was him, and he was it. One evening, as the sun dipped low behind the horizon, painting the sky with streaks of orange and purple, Ethan and Lyra sat together by the small window in his dorm. He watched her carefully, his heart pounding. She turned to him, her violet eyes reflecting the fading sunlight. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice soft, almost shy. "Do you understand now? The bond is not just a tie between our souls. It is a trust, a promise, a connection that grows stronger with every moment we share." Ethan swallowed hard. I think I'm beginning to," he admitted. It's terrifying. I never thought I could be responsible for someone like you. I never thought I could matter like this to anyone. Lyra's smile was gentle, her fingers brushing lightly against his hand. You do matter, she said simply. You always have. Even when you did not see it, even when you thought yourself small, lonely, ordinary, to me you were everything. And you still are. The sincerity in her voice, the depth of feeling in her eyes made Ethan's chest ache. He wanted to argue, to deny it, but the truth was undeniable. He felt it deep inside him. He had always wanted someone to see him, to need him, to care for him. And now here she was, offering all of that and more, asking only that he accept it. Tears pricked his eyes. He didn't understand how a being from another world could make him feel so human, so vulnerable, so alive. I'm scared, he whispered. But I don't want to be without you anymore. I don't want to imagine a world where you're not here. Lyra leaned closer, resting her forehead against his. The warmth of her glow seeped into him, comforting him, grounding him. Then you will not be without me, she said softly. We are bound, Ethan. Not just by the bond, but by choice, by love, by trust, and together we will learn to carry it. He closed his eyes, letting her presence envelop him. For the first time, he didn't feel trapped by the bond. He didn't feel afraid, he felt connected. Whole. In the days that followed, Ethan began to notice the small ways Lyra shaped his life, not by controlling it, but by being a constant, unwavering presence. She would wait for him to wake, her glowing fingers tracing patterns on the floor. She would sit silently as he studied, offering a quiet, comforting presence that made the hours pass more easily. She never demanded, never pressured. She simply existed, and in doing so made him feel stronger, braver, more alive. Ethan began to understand that the bond was not a chain. It was a bridge that connected him to someone who had chosen him, who had risked everything to be near him, who had given herself completely without question. And in return, he began to give himself as well, not just his presence, but his heart, his trust, his care. One night, as they sat together watching the stars through the dorm window, Ethan reached out and took her hand in both of his. She didn't pull away. Instead, she smiled, a soft, radiant glow illuminating her features. I never thought I could feel this way, Ethan admitted quietly. I never thought someone could matter to me like this. But I think I understand now. The bond is not just yours. It's ours, and I want to protect it. I want to protect you. Lyra's eyes shimmered with tears of light. You already do, she whispered. Every moment you choose to stay, every moment you care, every breath you take near me, you protect the bond, and in doing so you protect me. Ethan felt a warmth spread through his chest, a quiet, powerful sense of purpose. He realized that the fear he had carried for so long, the fear of responsibility, the fear of losing control, was replaced by something far stronger: devotion. A devotion that was not forced, not demanded, but freely given, freely chosen. He looked at her, truly looked at her, and for the first time, he felt no doubt, no hesitation, only clarity. She was his, not because she had bound herself to him by cosmic rules, but because they had chosen each other, because he had chosen her, and he understood something profound. The bond was not a burden. It was a gift, a chance to love, to trust, to matter in ways he had never imagined. Lyra, he whispered, his voice steady now, filled with a quiet determination. I accept this. I accept you, all of you, and I promise I'll never let you go. Her smile shone brighter than the stars above, her glow illuminating the room with warmth and light. She leaned forward, resting her forehead against his once more. Then we are complete, she whispered. Together always. And for the first time, Ethan truly believed it. Not just the bond, not just the connection, but the truth of it. That across the vast emptiness of space, someone had chosen him and he had chosen her back. That their souls were no longer alone. That together, they could face anything. And in that quiet night, as the stars twinkled above and the city slept below, Ethan felt something he had never felt before. Whole. The days that followed were unlike anything Ethan had ever known. Life had not returned to normal, and he no longer wanted it to. Every moment was colored by Lyra's presence, by the quiet glow of her silver skin, by the depth of her violet eyes that seemed to see into the very core of him. He had accepted the bond, and now he was learning what it truly meant, not just responsibility, not just devotion, but connection. Morning sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting a warm glow over the dorm room. Lyra sat by the window, her fingers tracing soft patterns on the floor, her violet eyes reflecting the soft light. Ethan watched her quietly, his chest tightening with a mixture of awe and tenderness. He had never felt so seen, so understood, and every time he looked at her he felt the pull of the bond stronger than before, a quiet, steady tether that tied their souls together. "Good morning," he said softly, his voice careful, almost reverent. Lyra turned her head slowly, her glow brightening slightly at the sound of his voice. "Good morning, Ethan," she replied, her voice a gentle melody that seemed to calm the chaos in his mind. He sat beside her, reaching out to take her hand. Their fingers intertwined naturally, as if they had always fit together that way. I've been thinking," he said, his voice low, "about everything. About the bond, about you, about us." Lyra's eyes glimmered with curiosity, but she remained silent, letting him speak. "I was scared before," he admitted. "Terrified, actually. I didn't know if I could handle it. If I could handle you. But now I see. I see that this isn't something to fear. It's something to live, something to protect. And I want to protect it. I want to protect you." Lyra's glowing eyes softened, and for the first time a faint, playful smile touched her lips. "You do not have to protect me alone," she whispered. "We protect each other. That is what the bond is. That is what it means to be mates. That is what it means to be forever together." Ethan's chest swelled with emotion. The weight of responsibility was still there, yes, but now it was not a burden. It was a purpose, a reason to wake, to live, to care. He had feared the endlessness of forever, but now he saw it differently. Forever was not something to fear, it was a promise. And for the first time in his life, he felt ready to keep a promise, even one that spanned the stars. They spent the day together, in quiet companionship. Ethan cooked simple meals while Lyra observed, occasionally guiding his hands with her glowing fingers. They walked through the campus, Lyra's presence drawing curious stares, but Ethan no longer felt embarrassment. He felt pride in the bond they shared, in the love that had grown between them despite the impossibility of it. As night fell, they sat by the small lake near the edge of campus, the water reflecting the twinkling stars above. Ethan reached out, brushing a strand of glowing hair from Lyra's face. "I've never met anyone like you," he said softly. "No one who sees me like you do, who trusts me like you do, and I don't ever want to lose that." Lyra rested her head against his shoulder, her violet eyes reflecting the moonlight. "You will never lose it," she whispered, "because it is ours. Always. And no matter what happens, no matter where life takes us, we carry each other. In soul, in heart, in every breath." Ethan felt tears prick his eyes, but they were not tears of fear or sorrow. They were tears of relief, of joy, of the quiet happiness that comes from knowing that someone extraordinary, chose you completely, without hesitation, without doubt. I love you, Lyra," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I don't fully understand everything yet, but I know this. I love you, and I want to be with you, always." Lyra's eyes glimmered like twin stars. She smiled softly, a radiant, gentle light that seemed to fill the world around them. "And I love you, Ethan," she whispered. "Forever. In every lifetime, across every world. Always." For the first time, Ethan truly believed her, not because of words, but because of the bond they shared. The invisible thread that tied them together, the warmth that pulsed through him whenever she was near, the quiet certainty in her eyes. All of it told him the truth. They were bound, not by force, but by choice. And that choice would endure beyond fear, beyond doubt, beyond time itself. As the night deepened, they stayed by the lake, holding hands, speaking softly, laughing quietly at small jokes and sharing stories that had never been told before. Ethan realized that the fear, the confusion, the overwhelming responsibility of the bond had transformed into something beautiful. It was not a chain. It was a bridge between hearts, between worlds, between souls. And in that moment, Ethan understood the full depth of what it meant to be alive, to be loved so completely, to love so fiercely, to have someone see you in your entirety and still choose to stay. He felt the bond in every fiber of his being, a steady, pulsing connection that was as eternal as the stars above. "Ethan," Lyra whispered, leaning her forehead against his, "no matter what the universe throws at us, we face it together. That is our promise. That is our forever. Ethan smiled, feeling the warmth of her glow seep into his soul. Together, he agreed. Always. And as they sat there beneath the endless night sky, their hands entwined and their hearts bound, Ethan finally understood that he had never truly been alone. The universe had brought them together, across impossibilities and fear, and now they faced it all not separately, but together, forever together. And in that truth, Ethan found peace, love, and a courage he had never known before.